Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 8th of September. So, quick look at the markets today. Firstly, let's just look at the risk events that are due out today. If we can press the right button, there we go. So, risk events today on Friday the 8th here is really good. Just got the Canadian data coming out. I will just check. Actually, I can check it on another screen. Just looking through, and September the 8th. There's a few numbers that's already been released, lower data numbers. Yeah, it's really about the Canadian data. We've got a Fed speaker later at 2 o'clock. Yeah, nothing of significance there today. So quieter day, but just got to watch the CAD employment data. Right. Let's get cracking and look at the markets themselves. Start with looking at the euro dollar. Trend continues to the downside. Nothing happening on the bigger time frame here. Certainly on the lower time frames, 4-hourly time frames, lower highs, lower lows continues. We just got this bit of a retrace going on at the moment. I'm sort of looking at watching this carefully because there might be an opportunity. It's a bit of a shallowish. If we pop the trend line across the lows here, it's quite a shallow line. It's a bit like yesterday really, but there's quite a lot of price action beforehand. There'll probably be some short-term divergence across this little move here, but I just need to wait a while just to see if it shows its hand a little bit more. It's had so much sort of downside already. Maybe we'll get a bigger correction and break. It's already broken this sort of near-term trend that's sitting there. Bigger term trends, well, they're not really hit yet, but there's a risk from the shorting point of view that it might just turn around. So a bit of patience needed on the euro this morning. The pound more solidly off. It's just within a very short way of its key pivot here. This pivot is my pivot. It's an area when you come down the time frames and look at it, it's been hit both sides. It's performed support, resistance. It's got several hits right the way back on the dailies as well as on the short term. You can't really notice them too much through here, but when you come down the time frames, it's been dancing around it for a long time. Anyway, it still remains significant to me as a point of potential support at the moment. Shorter time frames here, we're just looking through what's happened. Well, we're still on this sort of downward trend, but again, a bit like the euro here, it's maybe we'll get a decent change of move at some stage. It's just move that across. There we go. It's just, as you see, just into a trend line at the moment. My preference would be to be looking to sell this post after it's broken the daily pivot, and of course post 8 o'clock. So I'd wait around for that for a while. There is some scope. It did go off yesterday, but not very far, and it just, well, stalled a little bit yesterday. So personally, I didn't get into that yesterday, but it's got some scope this morning, maybe. US dollar yen. The yen, well, it's hanging around those highs there. It's struggling a little bit. There's sort of it's a very indecisive market in a sense. On the shorter time frame, it's been pretty messy. It did that double top previously, leading to yesterday morning. Now we've seen this sort of spike down again. We're seeing comments coming out from the Bank of Japan. Oh no, it's Suzuki. I think it might be a Bank of Japan member. But anyway, he was mentioning that they're sort of trying to put the notes out there. They might take action, so he's suggesting that they will take action if they see anything that's normal. But it's a difficult one for them at the moment because their interest rate sits around about the 0%. You can borrow money in Japanese yen and invest it into US dollars, bonds, etc. And you've got such a range in terms of there's massive earning opportunities, even on that is effectively the carry trade, and there's massive earning opportunities, and that's what traders are looking for at the moment. So difficult one. as much as I like the potential upside technically on part of it, it's now, well, it's given us a lower high, just a bit more wary, and I'm sort of kept out of the long side, and I'm glad I have, because it's stalled. Okay, Aussie dollar. He says, I've just lost the Aussie dollar. Hopefully it's going to come on. There we go. So the Aussie dollar, it's finally getting a little bit of a bounce here. It's been dancing around. It had multiple attempts at breaking my my signal, and it's now stopped me out. I had a little short on this with the stops over the highs here. But it's finally stopped me out on that. Sod's law, it'll probably roll over now, but I am looking at for the break of the lows. Sitting below this bundle of this movement here, these 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5, 6 sort of attempts at the lower side of this price action. Sitting below here though is a load of sell stops, and I just want to see if I can ride some of it maybe. But sitting there patiently at the moment. I don't want to just jump back in. A lot of these markets then, as we've seen it with the euro to pound, pushing up a little bit further than the previous highs, so got to be careful we don't just get caught into something, and that's why I'm waiting for that to set. US dollar, Canadian dollar, well, it's largely pushing through, pushed up again yesterday, pulling back again at the moment, just like the other markets here. There is again trend lines across the lows here, and it's probably doing okay on that at the moment. It's still in the sort of bullish zone. Again, if I was looking at this, I'd really want to be buying above the daily pivot, not right the way down where it is at the moment. But it's a messy one. It's a Friday. We've got news coming out later. We've got employment data coming out. Probably best left on that one. New Zealand dollar following the Australian dollar's footsteps, basically such a similar move. Correlation is so tight between them at the moment. We had the same sort of consolidation. Nothing there for me at this stage. US dollar, Swissy. The Swissy's been pushing up pretty strongly. I don't say Swissy, there's the US dollar's been pushing up against the Swissy pretty strongly here. Bit of a slowdown at the moment. Again, a little lower high here, changed the near-term trend. Maybe it might see a bit more of a correction, although I'm sort of waiting. Would be waiting on the long side here, sticking with long, so I just need to see something a little bit more positive, but nothing there at the moment. Euro yen, this market's just sitting there choppy as anything at the moment. We've had 5-6 days of really short-term sort of price action. Where are we? It's here. Very short-term price action, very mucky. Yesterday afternoon it did start selling off, started moving quite nicely. Even that had a bit of a chop in it, coming back, but you can see the price action at the moment. It's sort of hanging up here. We'll see what happens. It might yet take a break. A little bit more difficult. It's already hit the S1, but there's potential for it to come back that way. Other markets, I'm struggling finding some things through these other markets. I'm just looking through on an hourly basis at the moment. Lower highs, lower lows running through here at this stage. We could see a change of play on this Euro Aussie, but Euro CAD, it's got quite. I was looking at it yesterday for a potential trade, but just it's not happening for me. In fact, it's just bouncing back again at this moment. It's quite messy, and a lot of these. So it has got other support there. I'll bring that into play so people can see that actually. Just just looking at Euro, looking at the 50. Let's just go to a weekly here. There you go. Oh, it's not quite caught mine, but it's very close to the weekly 50. It's a good spot though. So sometimes the price won't actually completely hit at this stage. It might catch a bit of a bounce when you look back at a later stage. it'll have shown it actually touched the 50. Now some brokers will show that on the weekly 50 and it'll probably be hitting. There's slight variations, the way calculations, weekends and everything else, which might show that hitting. So but yep, good spot there. It can provide quite a bit of support on the test of the 50, so thanks. Right, as I was moving through now, quick look into gold, he says, and I'm just going to spot one or two indices here and look at what's happening here. So gold, that's gold, yeah. So I'm looking at this thinking, what the hell's going on here, and realise I've got it on a weekly picture and not a daily. There we go. So the weekly picture. So as I said yesterday, it's been sort of running down more than I expected. I was expecting maybe a bit of a reversal back here, but with the dollar strength, it's just been going. Again, bit of a bounce this morning, and it's sort of running up. We're seeing this through many of these markets, coinciding with the Euro 50 maybe, but either way, it's sitting there. Slightly up there, but again we've probably got a little bit of divergence on lower time frames on this little move here. Can't build too much into it at the moment. The bigger trend is still very much, well, the intermediate trend on this is still very much to the downside. Actually, so is the bigger trend at this stage. Looking across at oil, okay, the futures have hit on the Euro 50, right? Well, that makes sense. It's slightly different differentials. Looking at oil then, this morning, well, it's come back off a little bit. Yesterday ended up off. As I said, I'm waiting for something more significant in terms of a retrace here. Maybe next week it might just come back for me. I want to buy into some value. I don't want to be buying around these highs here, so it needs to come back. It's not too far off of my predicted highs, and where I see the market sort of running. I don't see a lot of value over $90 on the Western Texas, so it doesn't give me a lot of target. Okay, anyway, that's just pulling off, but still remaining very bullish. I'm not looking to sell it, I'm just waiting for it to retrace. Big difference there. Right, okay, finally, so just going to have a quick look at a couple of markets, the equity markets, S&Ps here firstly. Well, yesterday continued on the sell-off there. Still looking a bit on the softer side. This morning we catch it again, as we're seeing with the currency markets, a bit more of a push up at this stage, running into its hourly 50 on the on Pepperstone data at least. So running through there back into the hourly 50. Has got the scope. I'm looking at it on this sort of intermediate time frame here, the 4 hourly, and it just looks like a bit of a flag to me. It still looks like it's got potential for a bit more rollover, but we'll see how it what happens during the morning. I'm not really keen on the long side of this at the moment either. I mean, there's okay, it's put higher lows in back here, and it started doing quite well, but I'm wondering whether we're going to see a bigger correction. Fundamentally, it doesn't look so good. Dow, Nasdaq looking similar-ish pictures there, same sort of pattern. Moving close to home, the DAX, well, we finally got a bit of a move yesterday, but again, it's choppy as anything on this 4 hourlies. It's difficult to trade. It's running through backwards and forwards. I say it's difficult to trade. I don't want to be trading a market like this. I'm not actually trying to personally trade the DAX at the moment because it's too ugly. Yeah, it's a no-goer for me at this stage. It could just as easily roll back over, and it's sitting in the range here at the moment. I'm just looking at that, and it's looking very rangy. FTSE, same again, daily wise, it's quite a rangy market, not really doing too much. It's, if anything, got a hint of bullishness on this sort of intermediate time frame. Shorter time frame though, it's pretty ugly. When I say the hint of intermediate on the intermediate side, hint of bullishness, we've got this higher low. It's a bit clearer on here that you can see, and well, it looks like it might have a little more of a pitch to the upside there. Okay, that's pretty much it for me today. The one thing, a little thought for you, in terms of, I mentioned this a while back to my trading folk. We can't change the markets, but we can change how we approach them and how we trade them. And in times like this, September can be a bit of a funny old month for some people. It's that they're losing, they have a losing month or whatever else. But look at adapting how we approach them and how we trade them. You may just need to give a little bit more thought to that, because same old might give you not what you're expecting. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you on Monday. Bye for now. There we go.